Hello and welcome to the very first video on my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to cover a very interesting industry which is growing in double digits, and ये जो growth है, it is expected to continue for years to come. ये जो industry है, it is proxy to all sort of industrial capex that is happening in India and infrastructure spending that is happening, right? So if you are bullish on India's growth story, then this is the ultimate proxy to that growth. Be it data center, be it EV, be it semiconductor or renewable energy, if there is a capex spending happening, then this particular industry is a proxy to that capex. Moreover, ये जो industry है, इसका penetration is very low in India when we compare it with other developed countries. For reference, I have taken the screenshot of 3 companies which are operating in this industry, and we can clearly see that most of the companies are growing in double digits, be it on 3 years time frame or on 5 years time frame. So ये एक ऐसी industry है which is proxy to any industrial capex that is happening, and it is growing in double digits, plus it has very good headroom for future growth. So which exactly is the industry are we talking about? It is pre-engineered building or PEB industry. So what exactly is pre-engineered building? Pre-engineered building is prefabricated steel structure which is designed, manufactured in factories, and then transported to your actual site for the installation. So basically, any company which is operating in this industry usually provides turnkey solution. Turnkey solution मतलब क्या होता है? End-to-end solution, starting with the estimation, then design, engineering, manufacturing, transportation, installation and erection. So usually when clients approaches you, आप सबसे पहले शुरुआत करते हो एस्टिमेशन से कि this would be approx estimation that would be required for constructing this PEB. Once that estimation is approved, once you receive the order, you start with the designing, then engineering and manufacturing. The manufacturing part of this happens in your manufacturing units. Once manufactured, those parts are then transported to your actual site where it is installed and erected, right? Any PEB building has 3 main components: primary components or primary structures, secondary structure, roof and wall panels. Primary structure क्या होता है? Basically it is backbone of your PEB building. It includes all the elements which are basically supporting your structure. इसमें आपके columns आ गए, frames आ गई, rafters आ गए, and other elements which are going to support your PEB. Then comes the secondary structure जो आपके रूफ को और वॉल्स को सपोर्ट करते हैं, एंड लास्ट पार्ट इज योर एक्चुअल रूफ एंड वॉल्स. सो बेसिकली ये डिफरेंट डिफरेंट एलिमेंट्स जो होते हैं, ये डिफरेंट डिफरेंट स्ट्रक्चर्स जो होते हैं, इनका मैन्युफैक्चरिंग किया जाता है आपकी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फैसिलिटी में, उसको देन ट्रांसपोर्ट किया जाता है एट योर एक्चुअल साइट जहाँ पे उसका इंस्टॉलेशन एंड इरेक्शन किया जाता है, राइट? सो दिस इज what we can say is offering by most of the companies operating in this industry. इसके अलावा there are some other specialized offering which are offered by the companies, right? It could be sandwich panels or it could be self-supporting roof structures. We will deep dive into all these specialized offering when we will cover those particular companies on our channel. Now, in the very first slide, I told you that अगर कोई industrial capex हो रहा है, then this particular industry is proxy to it. So, how exactly that happens, right? If you look at this particular slide, it is very much clear that PEBs are used across all the different sectors, be it manufacturing sector or infrastructure sector or your building sector. Building में it could be residential building, commercial building, non-commercial building. And on infrastructure side, it could be warehouses or your aviation, metros, railways. So अगर इंडिया में रेलवे के लिए रेलवे का कैपेक्स हो रहा है, मेट्रोज बढ़ा रहे हैं, then PEB is a proxy to it. If there is good demand in automotive, right, the automotive companies will actually go for their capex plan, expansion plan, and for that there will be a proxy, there will be a PEB, right? The pictures that you are seeing on this slide are taken from annual report of one of the company. So if you look at it, that particular company has done PEB for data centers, it has done PEB for convention center, it has done PEB for warehouse, it has done PEB for hospitals, corporate office, and you name it, right? And that is why this particular industry is considered as a proxy to industrial capex. जो भी PEB बिल्डिंग होती है उसमें बेसिकली मोटा मोटी 3 फेजेस होते हैं. First phase is your design phase, second phase is fabrication, and third one is installation, right? So in first phase you actually conceptualize the building and you design it, right? Then you go for the procurement of raw material, which is mostly steel in this case, right? Then you do manufacturing and fabrication of different components of PEB at your manufacturing facility. Then comes the logistic and supply, where you transport those elements to the site where erection is going to happen. And final stage is installation and erection. And this is how any PEB building is installed or erected. Now let's try to understand what is the market size and what all are the opportunities available in PEB industry. 2019 to 2023 के बीच में जो इंडस्ट्रियल कैपेक्स हुआ, that was around 3.9 ट्रिलियन रुपीस. अभी जो कैपेक्स हो रहा है, it is estimated to be around 6.5 trillion per annum between 2024 to 2028. So basically the magnitude of capex has gone up 1.7 times, and definitely this will have a positive impact on PEB industry. At the same time, we have seen this government being very active on the infrastructure spending. So this is also going to have a positive impact on PEB industry. Government is also promoting domestic manufacturing through different initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat, Making India, and China Plus One strategies there, right? Then, if we compare PEB with our traditional RCC structure, then PEB has advantages over RCC structure in form of faster execution and cost efficiency. If we compare the execution time, then PEB is 40 to 50% faster as compared to RCC. At the same time, depending upon the nature of the building and the nature of the project and the size of the project, it can lead to the cost saving to the tune of 15 to 35%. Now, if we try to understand why there is this faster execution, then it's very simple and intuitive, right? In case of PB, we saw that the elements or the structure, primary structure, secondary structure, most of the structures are manufactured in your manufacturing plant or your manufacturing facility. जब ये आप डिफरेंट एलिमेंट्स डिफरेंट कंपोनेंट्स मैन्युफैक्चर कर रहे हो आपकी फैसिलिटी में, एट द सेम टाइम व्हाट यू कैन डू इज यू कैन गेट योर साइट रेडी. So once your components are manufactured, you just have to ship them and install them. So there are two things that are happening in parallel: the manufacturing of your components and preparation of your site. Whereas in case of RCC, all these things happen in sequence, and thus there is a faster construction in case of PEB when we compare it with RCC. Now, if we do a detailed comparison between RCC and PEB, we'll find out that the number of raw material or the quantum of raw material that is required in case of RCC structure is way more as compared to PEB. RCC के केस में आपको सीमेंट लगता है, स्टील, सैंड, ब्रिक्स, everything, right? In case of PEB, steel is the major raw material that is required. Then जो कंस्ट्रक्शन होता है इन केस ऑफ आरसीसी, ऑल द कंस्ट्रक्शन हैपन एट योर साइट. whereas in case of PEB हम लोगों ने देखा कि जो भी आपके कंपोनेंट्स होते हैं, those components are manufactured in your factory and then they are installed at your location. Construction time we saw, because of the parallel simultaneous manufacturing and site readiness, there is a time saving element to the tune of 40 to 50%. So your PEB is 40 to 50% faster as compared to RCC structure. Now, in case of RCC, the manpower requirement is very high, whereas in case of PB, the manpower requirement is less, because आप जो components manufacture कर रहे हो, आप जो elements manufacture कर रहे हो, those are getting manufactured in your factory where you are having machines and everything. So the manpower requirement when it comes to PEB is lesser as compared to RCC structure, and that results in your cost saving. Then PEBs are usually considered more eco-friendly, green buildings, as compared to RCC, right? So when it comes to PEB buildings offer different set of advantages when compared to RCC, and that is where we are expected to see more and more market share or more and more chunk of buildings being constructed using PEB. Now, considering the PEBs, the elements of the PEBs are manufactured in your factory. You can have a lot of automation in process. You can use different machineries for the manufacturing, which will lead to the time saving, cost saving, and better output. एट द सेम टाइम अगर हम लोग पीईबी बिल्डिंग कंसिडर करते हैं तो पीईबी बिल्डिंग के द पार्ट्स आर ऑलमोस्ट फिक्स्ड, राइट? ऐसा नहीं होगा कि बहुत ही अतरंगी कुछ पार्ट आप मैन्युफैक्चर कर रहे हो. देयर विल बी कॉलम्स, देयर विल बी स्ट्रट्स, देयर वुड बी रूफ एंड एवरीथिंग. सो मोर और लेस द पार्ट्स ऑफ द पीईबी आर फिक्स्ड, and that is where you can use lot of technologies, and you can adopt lot of technologies like STAD, or you can use building information modeling. Lot of things are possible because the structure and the overall design of your PEB remains more or less same, right? Then there is a penetration element, right? At the beginning of the video only told you that when we compare India, the penetration of PEB is very less as compared to developed economies. In 2019 it was around 2 to 4%, जो 2024 में 3 to 5% हुआ है, and by FY28 it is expected to be 5 to 7%, which is very less as compared to the overall construction, right? Then there is a shift from unorganized to organized, right? And ये जो unorganized to organized वाली theme है, we have seen this theme playing out in multiple industries, be it jewelry industry, be it FMCG industry, be it your retail. In many cases we are seeing this shift from unorganized to organized player happening. In case of PB industry, most of the PB industry was with unorganized player, which has changed a bit from 2019 to 2024. Now the organized player have around 40 to 45% market share, but the growth that is happening in case of organized player is faster, and that's where the organized player are taking away the market share from unorganized player. And it is expected that by FY 2019 organized player will have around 45 to 50% of the market share when it comes to PEB industry. Now PEB industry, as we learned, is a proxy to industrial capex that is happening, right? So we have to understand what all are the industrial capexes, or what is the end user demand that is going to drive the growth in PEB industry. First and foremost is logistic and warehousing, e-commerce boom, quick commerce boom. For all of these, we need warehouses. For agri also, we need warehouses. So as and when the warehousing will grow, PEB will grow. Then data centers, right? The data center capacity is expected to grow from 780 megawatt to 1700 megawatt in next few years. This is also a proxy, or this is also a driver for PEB. Renewables are there, automotive sector is there, and export. I was listening to the con call of one of the listed company, and they were saying that even after USA imposing 50% of the tariff, the PEB export from India are still very competitive as compared to the manufacturing that is happening in USA. So export is another optionality that is available in PEB industry. Then government initiative. This particular government has been taking a lot of initiative through direct investment like Gati Shakti Yojana, Bharat Mala Yojana, and is also giving a lot of indirect support through PLI scheme, through domestic manufacturing, and by having a lot of thrust through on the domestic manufacturing through Atmanirbhar Bharat, Sagarmala, National Skills Project. So all in all, there is a good amount of industrial capex is happening. Government push is there, and the penetration of PEB is less. So all these factors are going to contribute to the double-digit growth of PEB industry in years to come. Now let's try to understand the industry structure. अगर हम लोग PEB industry consider करते हैं as a overall, then it is fragmented industry with 55 to 60% market share is still with unorganized players. बट अगर हम लोग इस पूरे इंडस्ट्री का ऑर्गेनाइज्ड पार्ट कंसिडर करते हैं, देन दैट ऑर्गेनाइज्ड पार्ट इज concentrated with 6 players taking away 80 to 85% मार्केट शेयर. सो ओवरऑल पाई जो है वो फ्रेगमेंटेड है, बट उस पाई का जो ऑर्गेनाइज्ड पार्ट है दैट इज ओलिगोपोलिस्टिक. नाउ ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम देयर इज अ शिफ्ट हैपनिंग फ्रॉम अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड प्लेयर्स टू ऑर्गेनाइज्ड प्लेयर्स. अगर हम लोग 2019 की बात करते हैं तो अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड प्लेयर्स यूज्ड टू हैव अराउंड 60 to 65% मार्केट शेयर एंड 30-35% ही जो था वो ऑर्गेनाइज्ड प्लेयर्स के साथ था. By FY 2024, organized players contributed around 40 to 45% of the market share, which is expected to go to 45 to 50% by FY 2019. Now, why this shift is happening? One of the main reason is the large players or the organized players are growing at faster rate as compared to unorganized players and as compared to overall industry growth. तो अब इट इज ऑब्वियस दैट अगर आप इंडस्ट्री ग्रोथ से ज़्यादा ग्रोथ कर रहे हो, देन यू आर टेकिंग अवे द मार्केट शेयर फ्रॉम द प्लेयर्स विच आर नॉट ग्रोइंग एट दैट पेस, एंड दैट इज वाई देर इज अ शिफ्ट हैपनिंग फ्रॉम unorganized players to organized players. There are very strong reasons behind this shift. सबसे पहला आता है ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड एंड क्रेडिबिलिटी. अगर most of the players are offering similar products, similar services at more or less same cost, so I'll definitely go ahead with the player which has got good track record and credibility. I'll also choose a player जिसके पास integrated capabilities हो, जिसके पास strong in-house design and engineering capabilities हो, जिसके पास scale भी हो to perform, right? So because organized players have all these capabilities available with them, they are growing faster as compared to unorganized players. Now, if we talk about the export side of the business, then the countries where these companies are exporting to, there are some certifications required. अगर आप यूएसए में एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हो तो यूएसए विल नीड some sort of certification. Same is the case with Canada. तो ये जो सर्टिफिकेशन है दैट इज मोस्टली अवेलेबल विद द ऑर्गेनाइज्ड प्लेयर्स ओनली, एंड दैट इज वेयर द ऑर्गेनाइज्ड प्लेयर्स आर आल्सो बीटिंग unorganized players when it comes to the export side of the market. Now, if you look at the top 6 player operating in this industry, then Kirby is the biggest player with around 3 lakh tons per annum capacity. Second is Interarch, followed by MBEL, Pennar, Epack, and Bajaj Steel. Interarch, MBEL, and Epack are more or less pure play PEB companies, with Pennar and Bajaj Steel having some other offerings also. ये सारी कंपनीज अपन एक एक करके डिस्कस करेंगे ऑन आवर यूट्यूब चैनल इन आवर अपकमिंग वीडियोस. सो stay tuned to my YouTube channel to understand each of these companies in detail. Now, let's try to understand the overall industry by applying Porter's 5 forces. सबसे पहले तो if you look at this industry, then the capex requirement is not very high. Plus कोई differentiating factor नहीं है. ऐसा कुछ है नहीं कि ये कंपनी मुझे कुछ अलग दे रही है as compared to other company. There is no differentiating factor as such. More or less, this is a standardized industry. So because the capex requirement are less, because there is no differentiating factor, it is very much possible for a new company to enter this sector. But at the same time, यहाँ पे credibility matter करती है, and that's where it will be difficult for a new entrant to come and just take away the market share so easily. जहाँ पे भी आपकी industry fragmented हो जाती है, wherever you are having multiple players offering similar kind of services, the bargaining power is with the customer, right? अगर मुझे दोनों तीनों प्लेयर सिमिलर प्राइस ऑफर कर रहे हैं, देन आई हैव अ बार्गेनिंग पावर वेयर आई कैन try to squeeze as much margin as possible. I can have negotiation with the company saying that भाई मेरा तो इतना ही बजट है या फिर मैं इतनी ही इस पे काम कर सकता हूँ, and the companies will have to nudge. So the bargaining power is with the customer. Similar is the case with the supplier, right? Supply side पे there are very less companies at the supplier side which are providing quality raw material. So the bargaining power is again with your supplier. बट ये जो लिस्टेड कंपनीज है, व्हाट दे ट्राई टू डू इज दे ट्राई टू एस्टेब्लिश लॉन्ग टर्म रिलेशंस with your customers also and with your suppliers also. And that's where they try to win over other companies by having a long term relation, having a long term bonding with your customer and supplier. Now, if we look at the competitive rivalry, then yes, considering most of the companies offer similar kind of products at price range, there is a good amount of competitive rivalry in this industry. But there are two things to it, right? First is overall penetration कम है. That means overall pond जो है उसमें there is a huge scope for that pond to expand, right? So it's a big, it could be a big pond with multiple fishes, right? So because there is a headroom to grow, even if there is a competitive rivalry, it's not very difficult to continue growing, right? And if you look at the threat of substitute, ऐसा हो सकता है क्या कि कल आके ये प्रोडक्ट जो है ये ऑब्सोल्यूट हो जाए या फिर ये प्रोडक्ट की जगह पे कोई बेटर प्रोडक्ट आ जाए? The chances are very less. The existing product is your RCC structure, and we saw that in case of RCC and PEB, PEBs are more cost effective, they require lesser time, and they are eco friendly. That's where it is not possible कि कल उठ के वापस RCC को प्रेफरेंस दिया जाए या फिर RCC will start taking the market share. RCC से PEB is anytime better, and that's where the threat of substitute is less. Now let's try to understand overall cost structure and margin drivers for this industry. Steel is around 60 to 65% of your total cost. Designing and engineering is around 10 to 15%. Labor and installation is 20%. So raw material cost is the biggest cost. Now, what all are the margin drivers? When we will study each and every company in detail, these margin drivers we will explore in more detail, right? But scale matters the most. Right? Capacity utilization is the second factor which is required. Higher the capacity utilization, better are the margins. Then your strategic project selection. कौन सा project select करना है? Do you prefer margin or do you prefer growth? It has to be a balancing act between both of these, right? Then your location matters. आप जितना नज़दीक हो आपके क्लाइंट के, आपका ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कॉस्ट उतना कम होते जाएगा, बिकॉज यू मैन्युफैक्चर योर प्रोडक्ट्स इन वन लोकेशन एंड देन यू हैव टू ट्रांसपोर्ट इट टू योर साइट. सो आप जितने नज़दीक हो टू योर कस्टमर, आपका ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कॉस्ट उतना कम होगा. दिस ऑल्सो मैटर्स व्हेन इट कम्स टू एक्सपोर्ट. आप जितना आपके पोर्ट के पास में हो, आपका एक्सपोर्ट कॉस्ट उतना कम रहेगा एंड यू कैन हैव बेटर एक्सपोर्ट्स, right? Now if you look at other KPIs of this industry, then these are the differentiating factors, and will evaluate each and every company in this sector based on this factor. What is their installed capacity, what is their capacity utilization, what kind of order book they have, what is their working capital requirement, and so on and so forth. At the same time, we'll have to look at other qualitative factors कि किसके पास डिजाइन एंड इंजीनियरिंग कैपेबिलिटी है, which company is able to have customer retention, integrated project management कौन सी कंपनी करती है, what is the credibility, कितने टाइम से ये कंपनी इस सेक्टर में ऑपरेट करती है, what is their track record, what is the compliance and quality certification. So these are the qualitative KPIs that we need to track when we track any of the company in this sector. Let's try to understand the risks. First and foremost risk is execution and project delays. आप जितना डिले करोगे उतना आपके कस्टमर डिले होते जाएगा. So the customer will want any PEB company to adhere to the timelines that are given, right? Second is intense competition. The fragmented industry, plus there are no differentiating products or offerings as such. That's why the competition is very high. Then I've been talking about the proxy to capex industry. अगर आपका capex slow हो जाता है, capex cycle slow हो जाता है, then this industry will also slow down. Same thing had happened in past between 2019 to 2023, where there was a capex slowdown, and thus we saw that this industry grew at just 8.5%. Right. So if there is an overall capex slowdown, the industry will also slow down. Then there is a seasonality in the industry. Usually Q2 is softer for these companies because of the rains and all. आप प्रोजेक्ट एग्जीक्यूशन में डिले होते जाता है, इरेक्शन में एंड इंस्टॉलेशन में डिले होते जाता है. सो Q2 यूजुअली सॉफ्टर फॉर दिस कंपनी. Then steel is the most important raw material, and there are very handful suppliers, thus there is a supply chain dependency. And most of the companies have very high working days because of the nature. आपको पहले ही रॉ मटेरियल प्रोक्योर करके रखना पड़ता है, एंड देन you go for the execution of the project, right? Working capital requirement of most of the companies operating in this industry is very high. So this was more or less about the PEB industry. I hope you learned something valuable. I'll see you in next set of videos where we will cover each of the company listed in this space in detail. Thank you and see you in the next one. Bye bye.